do you ever get to a point where you're starting to get multiple copies of the same champions and are wondering, what should I do with these guys, right? So today we're going to be discussing what usefulness do multiple copies of the same champion have in Raid Shadow Legends. Hello, my name is Midway and I hope you enjoyed this video. Come alongside with me as we explore all the avenues this game has to give you some stuff for just having bad luck, right? Because getting a copy, or rather a double, triple, even 4 times the same champion in Raid Shadow Legends is pretty bad luck, right? So the first thing you can do with multiple copies is going to be probably a very not worth one, but let's just go ahead and select the Painkeeper because I have 2 of them. You can go ahead and do this with any tier of champion, right? It can be a rare, it can be an uncommon, it can be whatever you might want. But you can upgrade their skills by using the same champion, rather as a skill book, right? So you can do this with epics, you can do this with any tier of champions I talked about. Is this a worthwhile investment? I mean, I wouldn't say so, right? I mean, you've got the skill books, like rare skill books are very easy to come by, so I wouldn't be doing that, but that is something you can do if you don't even need the rares as food, right? I would rather be using those rares as food if they are 3 stars. Freeze! Click the link in the description right now and get a free legendary Karato as well as 2 free epics as you level up. So here's what you need to do. First of all, log out of Plarium Play on PC and uninstall. Then click the link in the description of this video and register a brand new email. Launch Raid and complete the tutorial, and then go to your inbox and claim your first champ. You'll find Karato here as well as Tagoar and Uugo as you progress through the game. This is an amazing account starting Raid, so click the link right now and follow the steps. And if you are a Legend of Mushroom player, I also got a special link down there in the description. Don't miss out on this offer, go ahead and check it out now. Now things get a little bit more interesting once we go to the Guardian Ring, right? So over here, of course, we'll find our automatic leveling up system, which I'm still trying to find the intricacies of, seeing if there's any way of the champions automatically leveling them up, or so I don't have to go ahead and log in and click on that. But there is going to be multiple things to do with repeated copies of champions. The first one we're going to be talking about is the faction Guardians. So over here you will have another use for champions that go from the rare category, I would say, I don't know, rarity, rare, epic, and legendary, and they're actually going to be pretty damn useful. So what you do is you just go in any of the factions, and for any repeated copies you're going to be able to just set them up in there. You don't actually lose them, or like you can still actually play with them, but you just set them in there and they're going to be giving you different buffs, right? As you can see, as you put those champions in there, you're gonna be getting those buffs for all the epic, rare, and legendary champions. Of course, it's gonna be separated in different tiers, and then of course the more champions you have in each one of these categories, the more buffs you're gonna be accumulating for all the epic, rare, and legendary champions respectively in each of the different factions. It is actually a pretty decent, just an upgrade overall, right? So if you just have a couple rare champions you're actually not using, it's definitely worth it to just go ahead and put them in there, right? At least keep 2 of them in your account. Of course, they're going to be taking up space because you need to have them in your bags. You need to be buying more slots for those champions because eventually you're going to be running out of those. I'm at 100 slots right now, and let me tell you, it's pretty annoying to have just these few, but that is something you can do as a form of long-term progression. So it's not so bad to get a repeated champion, so long as you are able to at least get a little bit of a boost in that faction in particular, for that champion tier in particular. Now, there is more stuff to this. Of course, you're going to have to do this for every single faction, and for example, after I did this for the Sylvan Watchers, I ended up with so many repeated copies for all the epics that I was able to fully assemble all the buffs for the epic Sylvan Watchers, right? So my faction wars team for the Sylvan Watchers is going to be pretty damn powerful. I still gotta be leveling them up, but you at least only need to level up 1 of the copies. As you can see here, the other one is just totally useless as it is, like individually. So what else can we do? We can empower champions, right? So what does champion empowerment do? So if you're not using one of the copies, right, you have 2 copies of the same champion, you can just go ahead and empower the ones you're not using in there by sacrificing, you could say, right? You're putting the extra copy that's not leveled up into the empowerment system, which means that it's going to be dedicated to actually buffing your main copy, the one that has all the level ups, all the gear, all the everything. So what we can do is what we're going to be doing right here, we're going to be clicking on the empower, and it does say you will lose the duplicate champion permanently. So you cannot use it as food, but it's going to be increasing the stats on the champion that you still remain, right? Like the one that's leveled up and all that stuff. Now, what buffs do we get, right? As you can see right here, we're already getting some decent stuff, right? It's a lot of defense, resistance, accuracy, HP, and attack. That is a massive buff, right? It's not every day that you are going to be getting a duplicate champion. Now, if we click over here in the icon next to my champions icon, we can see the breakdown of what those empowerment bonuses are going to be. We can see that there's a difference between mythical and legendary stat upgrades when you're going to be sacrificing one of the champions, right? And then for epics, it's going to be a little bit different. So in total, for legendary, let's just say you're doing this for a legendary, you could get that legendary to have a total of extra 40% HP, attack, defense, 55% more accuracy, 55 more resistance, 15 more speed, and then 30% more crit damage and 10% more crit rate, right? It's not the same for epics. Epics get a little bit less crit damage and they get a little bit less speed, as well as a little bit less accuracy and resistance, and then of course crit rate. So yeah, of course epics get a little bit less stats overall, since they are a little bit less important to sacrifice. It's not going to be that much of a loss. You're going to be still getting the same buffs on the HP, attack, and defense department, right? So that is still a big upgrade. It's worth doing this if you really are just going to be using that champion and you think it's good enough and you think it's worth. Now, there's champions you can only get once, so it's impossible for you to sacrifice multiple copies of them. In this case, you have a list over here of what champions you can actually use to sacrifice to empower the other champion. I'm not going to get into this. There's definitely some intricacies to it, but it is kind of whatever. Now, you can only do this a maximum of 4 times, of course, right? So as you can see, this slot is now locked and I cannot do it. So yes, you'd rather first and foremost, I would say, cover up your slots into the faction guardians, right? Instead of actually just sacrificing one of them, you first and foremost cover up your faction guardians, and once those are covered, you use the other duplicate champions to actually go ahead and sacrifice them and boost them up. This will not work for rares though, so yeah, it's only gonna be epics and legendaries. Now we can still do more things, and that is going to be applying only to legendary champions, and I cannot show you because I don't have a legendary champion that's duplicated, but that is going to be to unbind a duplicate legendary, right? So you're not going to be able to do this for epics, rares, or anything like that, but you're straight up going to just sacrifice a champion. One important detail I forgot to mention real quick before we go any further is that you can send the faction guardians that you have set over here to the vault, so they're not going to be taking up that space in your bags, although the vault is also finite, but at least you don't have to deal with them in your bags. Now, as you can see over here in this screen, you will be getting an amount of life tokens that's, I think it's going to be the same. I don't know if you get it to 6 stars, it's going to be 600 life tokens, but it just seems to mean that it's going to be fixed amount of 500 life tokens every time you sacrifice a champion here. You unbind it, right? So unbinding the champion means it's going to disappear. It's going to be destroyed, just like empowering or setting it up in the faction guardians. This is another way to go and a step farther and straight up just destroy a champion. It's gone and you only get some currency for it. Now, you can use that currency to do quite some things, right? First and foremost, you can purchase, or straight up just go ahead, this is basically the only use for it, it is to purchase other legendary champions, right? So there is going to be a fixed set of champions that you can buy out of having unbound previous legendary champions, and you can just go ahead and find them over here. Some of those are going to be in a rotation, as you can see right there. Those are going to be there for the entire month, but it's also a way of just randomly having a guaranteed way of getting some specific champions. Now, I got Molly out of the role, so it doesn't mean that you can only get these champions from here. It just means that these ones are going to be fixed over here, so they are a little bit of an easier access kind of champion. I mean, I say easier, you still need to spend a whole lot of currency to actually get to a point where you are able to get into this system. Don't get me wrong, but at least there is a guaranteed way of always being able to access these champions. And then if you're just feeling a little bit lucky and you just happen to find one you really wanted, over here at the ones that actually come around every month or whatever, well, there we go. You can also find more stuff over there. And I think it suffices to say that the last usage for a duplicate champion is to simply go ahead and use it as food, right? You can always just go ahead, level it up, and use it to feed into somebody else, right? There is multiple choices, and especially when it comes to epic champions, right? For example, you can see right here, I got my +1, which means another copy of it has been used on her. But yeah, getting to the point where you're gonna be sacrificing epic champions, right, just for food, it's really gonna be a very bad epic champion, right? I would rather use it onto the faction guardians so that it's still just like covering those buffs. And once it really gets to the point where there is no reason to enhance it, right, like consuming the other copy to upgrade that one other copy you're actually gonna be using, if you're really never gonna be using that champion for anything and you already got your faction guardians covered up, which is gonna be taking a little while to get there, but you can happen to have the circumstance if you participate in one of the events like I did here, where a lot of epic champions for one faction in particular are dropping, then you might actually go ahead and want to be using them for food, right? But yes, it is a specific scenario which is probably not gonna be happening, especially for most new players, which is kind of what this video is addressed for. So all in all, I think this is kind of all the usages there is for duplicate copies of champions. Let me know if there is anything else you can do with duplicate champions in this game that I missed out on. And before you go, please go ahead and check out Aptoide if you haven't done so yet. Aptoide is basically going to be allowing you to get a lot more value for your money. So just picture this, you're going to be buying a pack, right? You're going to be buying something within this game. If you do so through Aptoide, you're going to be able to get a whole lot more value for your money. Just picture that, you're going to be getting bonuses that can go from extra 10% of the money you're spending all the way up to extra 35%, right? So you are going to be accumulating these bonuses if you're going to be doing purchases anyways, right, while playing Raid Shadow Legends. And once you have enough of those, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to go ahead and buy the thing you want to be buying without actually using your real money. You're going to be able to do it with the bonuses you have earned over time. If you go ahead and use my code, which is going to be on the screen as well as down in the description, you're going to be able to earn an extra 5% bonus from the get-go forever, right? So long as you got the code active on the Aptoide wallet, and there will be a guide as well down there in the description explaining how to set the whole thing up. It only works on Android phones as well as Android emulators on your PC. You will be able to earn that extra 5%, right? So go ahead and jump into using Aptoide. It's going to be a massive upgrade if you're going to be spending money like I am doing in Raid Shadow Legends. And if you do so and go ahead and use my code, I would really appreciate it. That's pretty much it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye. See you.